Hello, hello.
What's up? We are officially live. What's
Hello,
up, everybody?
everyone. Welcome. So,
Yes.
so excited. Thanks for doing this with me, Adam. This is really fun.
Cool. Cool. Yes, I'm gonna give the people out there a little bit of truth to help them get through the day.
Hmm
This is Antonia Talayeh, and we're gonna talk about spiritual healing. And
hmm
Antonia is a spirit coach, and we're gonna talk about accessing your truth. So, why don't you start us off and just give us a little breakdown of what exactly that means?
we all have intentions before we come into this world, and it's to expand and find freedom. And in order to do that, we play roles that'll help us become closer to living our soul's purpose. And especially under this type of cosmic weather that we're experiencing now with all these five planets in retrograde and all of that, which is a totally other conversation. But sometimes it's the opposite of the intention that'll manifest in our life in order to facilitate and transcend and work through those agreements in order to get to our soul's purpose. And so, what I do as a spirit coach and as an intuitive person to help you heal yourself is I create sacred space in order to help people become who they are so that we together can create bliss on earth.
That is very, very cool. So you've worked with a lot of people already doing this, right?
Yeah, I've been doing this for a little bit. It feels like forever, but I mean, official like professionally for about 3 years now.
And I think the work you do is super important because it seems like one of the major issues with people, I guess since like the Industrial Revolution or since like cities came about or whatever the reason is, but people I guess have this overwhelming feeling of being disconnected,
Hmm
and not having access to their passion, their purpose. Like what do you think gets people off of their purpose? And do you think that's kind of like part of it, or do you think it's just a negative thing that's happening right now?
Well, I think, well, like what we were saying before, it's kind of like the negative thing that's happening is driving the awakening. It's
Mm-hmm.
driving the for us to be aware, to build more awareness around what it is that we don't want and what the things that are making us unhappy and feeling unfulfilled and stagnant and stuck. So it's all in divine purpose, essentially. And really, like you were saying, since the Industrial Revolution and since, there's so much around how, we are where we are and perfection around that at the same time. And in that, it's kind of like being subjected to the ideas of what we've been told we should be doing. It's that word should. The idea of being born, going to school, sitting in a chair every day, holding your focus, learning in only one learning styles. Well, meanwhile, when there's, nine types of learnings, there's like different styles and types of intelligences that each human being possesses. So it's like really interesting that we've all been forced to sit in and be in boxes when it's really not natural for human beings to be in boxes.
Yeah, that
So
is, yeah,
yeah.
like we've evolved, or I guess society has changed so quickly in the scope of like evolution. It's so, I feel like we haven't evolved to the point where we're like ready for this type of civilization. Like you said, boxes, like, everyone is addicted to sugar because like a few thousand years ago, or even 1,000 years ago, maybe even less, you can't get sugar. So like our bodies developed like a sense that it's super important, but now that it's everywhere, we just like cram it down our throats and stuff.
Well, that's a whole other thing. That's a totally different conversation too with sugar, because I mean, sugar was created. Sugar is in almost everything, but it's the artificial, and sugar's okay, but it's like the artificial sugar that's been created by the machine. Essentially, is what's what's helped us become conscious of what the whole sugar thing is about, and what kind is, what's beneficial and what's healthful and what could be unhealthy at the same time. So yeah, like that's something that's a huge conversation as well, and I'd love to talk about more about that on a separate too.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll bring it back to the work you do, because I think the work you do, part of it has to do with reminding people that they're human beings, and
Yes.
all these kinds of things about us that we don't acknowledge anymore because of how quickly society has changed, I think. And
Yeah.
that's why what you do is like so awesome. What do you think is like what do you think is the like one of the most common things you've seen as far as like a mental block for people?
It really goes back to what you were saying about the Industrial Revolution mentality, about how we're just conditioned
Hmm.
with these pre-programmed ways of adopted ways of being and existing and living, and based on those beliefs that we have, there's resistance, and because our spirit is telling us otherwise, and our truth is speaking to us, um, in many ways, in this on the spiritual realm, through our bodies, through illness, through disease, which is dis-ease essentially. So it's like the body speaks loudly, and the spirit speaks first. So because we're so disconnected from our spirit and from our intuition, um, the the body is becoming louder in order to help us
Hmm.
see and remember what it is that spirit is calling and what our spirit is asking of us. And sometimes there's so much muck and so many layers of adopted beliefs around societal exceptions, that it's there's a part of us that is protecting us, because it's so dangerous to not think outside the box, to step a little bit to the left, and do something that your heart longs for. And there's also the aspect of being a human in a human experience. It's like the foundation of being a human is for us to focus on the negative.
Hmm.
It's like it's just inside of us. It's because when we were Neanderthals, and during times of of those civilizations, it's like we remember what it is that we need to protect ourselves from. So it's like the saber-toothed tiger behind the woods, behind the bush. It's like when you have that trigger or that feeling of fear, it's protecting you. And if you forget it, then you'll die. So it's constant, it's constant, it's constant. And it's easier for people in as human beings and experiencing this human experience and the human condition, to focus on the negative things and the protector part. So in working through this process and doing process work with people, I help them broaden perspective and gain more insights or teach them techniques in order to help them tap into their intuition a little bit more through meditation and through ritual and through dreams, through plants, um, through nature. It's really getting back to basics. It's really getting back to basics, because what happened is just we just forgot where we came from. We forgot because we just became really distracted by society and by media and distractions, and it just has become more and more and more and more. So it's really helping people remember who they are and remember what that they're love, essentially, that their love and joy is the highest vibration, even higher than love. And when you can bring yourself to experience joy and bring yourself to experience love at a level without judgment, then the law of attraction kicks in, and then you can start to create your own reality, because there's multi-realities. I mean, we're multidimensional beings. It doesn't stop here. And the physical reality is where we live every day, but when we dream, we're also experiencing a parallel reality, and that is just as real as this is too. And it's really interesting how people um, people navigate that nowadays, you know?
Well, one thing, what you just mentioned something that you mentioned to me before that has gotten in my brain, and I've haven't been able to stop thinking about it, is that joy is a higher frequency than love.
Mm-hmm.
Because for so long, you know, part of my whole philosophy on everything from politics to social issues, whatever, is that like love is the answer. We,
Mm-hmm.
what's wrong with everything going on, especially with the political campaign, is just heaping hate upon hate. But then you come with the idea that joy is even higher than love. And that
Mm-hmm.
totally changes, that forces me to change my perspective. Not dramatically, but it's definitely a really cool way to think about the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very much.
yeah, like imagine if there was more joy today. If we can look at politics and actually be happy about what's going on. Yeah, it's such an alien concept that we can actually be happy about politics, or anytime you look at like mainstream issues and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what I wanted to say though is that I see this kind of, there's so much um what's the right word? There's so much attention on the feminine right now, because I
Yeah.
feel like feminism is having like a breakthrough moment in society.
Mm-hmm.
But just like we were saying before, it's almost like society maybe isn't ready for it, or it's just not able to take on these like new dynamic things. So you have feminism getting represented in all kinds of strange ways by the mainstream media.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting time right now to be in, because it's like kind of old paradigm melding into paradigm. Like you were saying before, like things are moving so quickly that everything is becoming like snowballing and meshing up, you know? Like
Yeah,
you have old paradigm feminism, which is, oh, I need to be more like a man in order to get ahead in society.
mm,
So then you have women, like trying to do everything all at the same time, and which is actually rejecting certain parts of themselves and rejecting intuition, which is fundamental, which is one of the most fundamental things and about being that females are born with. It's like a really strong intuition, because we are the moon, we are the earth, we are the yang. It's like that's fem energy, and fem energy doesn't have to only exist within a female. I mean, obviously we all have everything, and some people have more of it than others, and some males have more fem, more yin than yang, and vice versa, the same thing. So it's like tapping into that energy, that fem energy within ourselves is becoming more prevalent, because that we're noticing, especially what's happening with the earth, and the earth represents that fem energy, what is needed at this time. So the energy is becoming, the attention is turning towards that, and inquiring more and honoring that more. And when you honor that more, then you give momentum, and there's that resurgence of recognition and of reclamation and more of a leveling out. I mean, it's everything's happening really quickly, so it's pretty extraordinary to be living at a time like this right now
mm.
and observing that momentum.
what would you say to somebody who has a very busy life and they're hearing this conversation and like, I have no time to meditate and get in touch with nature. I'm a busy person. What would be something simple that somebody could try to incorporate into their daily life that you think would help them?
Well, if they have to want to also, like if that's their story, then that's their
Oh,
story. If they're
yeah.
yeah, if they're gonna say I'm too busy and I don't, I don't have time, then they don't have time. Then that's their story. But if
Mm,
somebody wants to change their life, they're ready, they feel something, they feel a calling because it's something it starts as a whisper and then it just becomes louder and louder and louder till it's pretty undeniable. And that can come divine intervention is divine intervention, and it can come through usually pain and
mm.
through tragedy and through suffering in order for us to recognize um, what needs to change in order to.
What's up, everybody? We had a little technical issue. I'll clean that up. I'll go back once we finish this up, but we're just about to wrap up the podcast anyway, so I'm just going to repeat the question to Antonia, and we'll just go on from there. All right. So what you were talking about, as far as I got before I couldn't hear you anymore, I asked you the question, like, what do you, if you were to give somebody like one thing they can do throughout the day to help them get more in touch with nature and like their spirit, what
Mm-hmm.
would that be? But like their excuses, they're so busy they don't have time to
Right.
sit for 15 minutes and meditate.
Yeah. Well, I guess the best thing to do or would be to ask yourself what it is that you really enjoy doing to connect with yourself. What do you love to do for fun? That's one thing. Because
Mm,
there's so many types of meditations. There's, dynamic meditation and movement meditation and insight meditation. So it's like if you enjoy dancing like a lot, then you should go in the bathroom stall and like shake your ass for about 5 minutes. Like get, get down or like you know, just find a corner and just like do some dance moves and like shake it out and vibrate, like shake your body and vibrate. That's one thing. Another way is if you live, outside the city, is to every morning make it a part of your ritual to spend 5 minutes with your toes in the grass or in the garden, just talking to your plants. Another way is to do some insight meditation. So it's focusing on the breath, just focusing on the breath, not worrying about anything else. Like you can totally welcome all of your thoughts. All of your thoughts are a part of your experience and they want to be heard also. So it's not trying to push anything away, but really the answer is to welcome it all,
mm.
and to observe everything from a higher perspective or from a heart space. And one of my favorite mindfulness meditations is breathing through the heart. And that is when you just sit down for a moment if you're about to get out of your car, to go to work, or if you're on the train in a crowded train. All you have to do is close your eyes. And maybe you don't even have to close your eyes, but you can just begin focusing all of your attention onto your heart and imagine opening your heart and flooding the entire space around you with that loving energy, with like a calming, loving energy. And if you do that maybe 3 times a day, I mean, your life will change drastically. I guarantee it.
That sounds like a really cool exercise.
Yeah.
And I actually heard someone talking about Tony Robinson one time.
Mm,
I don't, a lot of people like either love him or hate him. I don't really know much about him, but one of the things he was saying one time, he was like giving somebody advice on public speaking.
mm,
And he was like, go out there and just imagine that you're like filled with this purple mist or this purple air and it's like love energy or it's like some positive thing and
yeah.
you're going out there and when you're speaking you're filling the whole auditorium with this like love feeling, so like
Yeah.
that's really cool concept. And I
Yeah.
That's definitely, and you can do it when you're if you're on the train or you're in traffic or you're just walking around. You can do it. It doesn't take like any kind of sacrifice.
Exactly. No, yeah, it takes no lack, nothing. All you have to do is just like breathe and yeah, like you were describing, just pump the space up with love.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's funny whenever like I finally do take the time just to like take a deep breath. It's like when was the last time I took a deep breath? I've gone the whole day, maybe even 2 or 3 days without taking a full deep breath, and it just
Hmm.
feels good.
Feels great. Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
doing
that
that throughout the course of the day to remind ourselves to do that is great also to get yourself back into your body, you know. We're so cerebral and so mental and it's so important to ground ourselves. We forget that we're also our earth as well. You know, we're earth too, so it's like having that is such a luxury and such a gift and so essential. So fundamental.
have you ever one last thing before we end it, but have you ever heard of um I forget what the title of the theory is, but it's like the water human theory or the water theory or something. It's
Hmm.
that like because babies are born like fat and totally helpless, that's more similar to the way babies are born in the ocean.
Hmm.
So there's or something like that where there's some evidence suggesting that we didn't evolve directly like from something on land because when a monkey is born it pretty much already looks exactly like a monkey. I don't know how it went, but
Well,
there's
yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, because we're water. I mean, we're what is 70% water, so it's
that's
like
so crazy.
it's yeah, we are water. So it's important to remember that and to honor that part of ourselves and to nurture that part of ourselves with all of the balances with earth, air, fire, and water. You know,
Mm.
that those are the elements, and we are those elements, and it's important to create that um, to be able to touch in, you know, with those elements because they're a part of us in order for balance, you know, because balance is key.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and that's definitely something we don't have all the time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that was great. That
Mm.
was a solid 30-35 minutes. If you want, we could keep going, but if you feel good, we can end it now.
Um, yeah, I guess, well, we can do another one. So we can leave it at
There
this
you
for
go.
now and do another one. Yeah, because there's so many topics to cover, and I'm really excited to
Yeah,
cover
yeah, I
this.
feel like we've only touched the surface of how much there is to talk about here.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more content, so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to even talking more about the fem. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's one really amazing quote, just since the fem is the theme, and I heard it from David Dieta, and he said, the eternal, unchanging consciousness is masculine, and the always changing, never the same, magical display of appearances is the feminine. So
Wow.
that that's really something to think about and to leave you guys with as well to reflect on um, till we can get back more into it.
That is a great way to end. Thank you very much.
Mm.
We'll be definitely doing this again in the future. Thank you, everybody who listened, and
Thank
I
you,
hope I
everyone.
hope you learned something.
In Lakesh, if you guys need to contact me and to be your spirit coach, I am so happy to do that. And you can look at my website. It's www.uncoveryourtruth.wix.com/bliss. And I'm Antonia Talayeh.
Awesome. I will also provide that in the section below. There will be a link there. You can click on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have a good day, everybody.
in Lakesh.